I was like, I'm a witch, apparently. Hello, welcome to Sound of Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing one of my classic sci-fi book reviews. I'm reviewing We All Died at Breakaway Station. We All Died at Breakaway Station by Richard C. Meredith. This is from 1979, and it is from Ballantine Books, and my poor copy is destroyed, but it's a first printing! Ah, I'm so excited. So, I can't remember when I first heard about this book, but it was years ago, and the title was what really made me want to read it, because it's such a cool title. I mean, it's so interesting, and I just love interesting titles. So, I saw it at a used bookstore in the summer, and I literally flipped out. I was like, oh my god! So yeah. Anyway, as usual, this video will be a review of the book itself, and then with no spoilers, and then I'm going to go into my classic sci-fi bingo, where I talk about where I use my bingo as a jumping off point to talk about some of the things in the book, and those do have spoilers. This book is fascinating, and I loved it. So, let's talk about it. This book is a testament to classic sci-fi, in that it shows what the genre was capable of in terms of evocative descriptions, resonance, and concept. And there's only a little bit of problematic stuff, enough that you can ignore it as, time period cringe, rather than this writer is a misogynist or a racist. So that was great too. I loved this book. I also loved The Bug Wars, which I reviewed last time, but on an entirely different level. The Bug Wars is pure pulp. This is art. This book is artful. It's so good. What is the book about? Let's see. The officers of the Iwo Jima. Captain Absalom Bracer with, among other things, an artificial brain pan and synthetic eyes. Astrogation officer Jean O'Gwyn, a lady with a plastic face. Weapons officer Aiken Darby and communications officer Miss Scianta, both with assorted prosthetic parts. And of the Pharsalis, a repetition with variations of the crew of her sister ship. These two heavy battlecruiser starships were, in theory, protecting the cumbersome vast Rudolph Cragstone, hospital ship returning to Earth with thousands of wounded in cold sleep. The brutally injured officers had been restored to temporary artificial life to do this job because no woman or man could be spared. And then Breakaway Station, a focal and vital link with Earth, was threatened. It's awesome. Okay, so this book also has a fantastic prologue that, while being an info dump, sets the tone wonderfully and ends with the line, "Don't ask me who I am, how I know. We all died at Breakaway Station." The last line of the book was also very strong and impactful. I'm not going to read it. If you like galactic war last stands against the enemy type space opera, this one is fantastic. It's like Armada, but if Armada had aliens that were actually fleshed out, sorry Armada, and characters that were less Top Gun and more The Road. The characters in this novel aren't particularly deep, as the cast is quite large, but they are distinctive and interesting for the most part. Some are likable, like Bracer and Sheila, and others, like Hybeck, are not. While most of the characters are white, there is an attempt to include people of color in non-stereotypical or non-sacrificial roles. One of the ships is called the San Juan as well, which I thought was nice. The most fascinating thing about the novel is that the main crew of the three ships, Iwo Jima, Pharsalis, and Rudolph Cragstone, are all reanimated humans who have died in previous battles. The novel dips a bit into ableism, though to be fair to Bracer, he's literally half a head, some arms, and a torso stuck on a weird cylindrical cart. So I think he's allowed to gripe a bit about what he's lost. He does mope a lot, which I could have done with a little bit less of, but I guess that was part of trying to convey the tone. There are some other minor interesting characters, one of which was just plain bonkers, which I'll talk about in the spoilers, though the novel does suffer from too many characters at times. They all tie into the climax, but I think we could have cut Hybeck, and there is a part at the end which was essentially date rape that was unnecessary, though it does cause near destruction, so perhaps that was the point. I don't know. The aliens in this are definitely not ones you could see included in a sexy alien romance book. They're gross, murderous, ugly bastards. They enjoy vivisecting humans and fall under the evil aliens trying to wipe us out trope. Yet, this was not a raw, humans coming together story, but a story of sacrifice, of honor, of resilience in the face of death. It's bursting with emotional intensity that you rarely see in this genre. Overall, while it has a few issues, convenience of events mainly, it was an utterly entrancing, addictive read, and I highly recommend it if you want a serious classic sci-fi. So yeah. Before I get into my bingo, I wanted to point out something fun about the book. So the main ship is the Iwo Jima, which you probably recognize as a battle from World War II. There was also a movie made about it. What's interesting is that Meredith clearly picked the name on purpose. According to Japanese staff officers after the war, seeing that it was impossible to conduct our air, sea, and ground operations on Iwo Jima Island towards ultimate victory, it was decided that to gain time necessary for the preparation of the homeland defense, our forces should rely solely upon the established defensive equipment in that area, checking the enemy by delaying tactics. That is exactly what happens in this book, which I expected because I know about the Battle of Iwo Jima. That was really fun. I really love when books do this, when they like have a name in there and it like ties in thematically with the story. I was like, I'm a witch, apparently. Pharsalis was also named after a battle, which I believe was a decisive one for Caesar. I can't remember the details. Rudolph Cragstone, I have no idea what that is. Someone tell me in the comments. I Googled it, actually, and then there was nothing. So it's just a random man. Anyway, getting into my classic sci-fi bingo. So, outdated science. Yes, as usual, we have tape reels. We always have tape reels. And there's printers that, to be fair, Bracer does call them obsolete. They're obsolete now. He gets only very official documents through the printing process, which is, similar to today. It does seem very outdated for the future, though, that they would have a printer. So, yeah. Spaceship blowing up. That definitely happens. Predicting social changes. Yes, there are new religious factions amongst humans. Women are in the military in high-level roles. There is a mention of LGBTQ plus acceptance in society. Marriage, in the way we think of it now, has been replaced by contracts. These aren't really explained in detail. There's a lot more. There's lots of stuff. He definitely predicted a future that is a bit different from today, but not entirely, not like the Forever War, which was like completely bonkers. That's a good book too. Sexy female scientist. Kind of, I would say yes, because Sheila is a technician and she's put into a sex scene that did not need to be there. Ugh, that scene was so gross. So I'm going to explain what happened. So Sheila is working away at her job, ensuring pressure systems are maintained on Breakaway or something. To be honest, I'm not really sure what she's doing. I can't remember. And this guy, her friend Dia's boyfriend, comes down where she's all alone and convinces her to have a happy stick, which is like weed with a bit of caffeine or something. It's mainly a relaxant. It's not like anything that will like make you go crazy. So she's like, sure, yeah, I'm having a hard day. She was on like a 12-hour shift or something. Anyway, it turns out he laced it with this drug called K-Pax, which is basically like liquid date rape drug. Makes you really amenable to things. I mean, it's not the same because you don't like pass out, but it makes you really amenable to things like having sex. She would never have had sex with this guy without the drug laced into the happy stick because she doesn't like him. So this was sexual assault. And the fact that it's described in detail is just disgusting. Bad form, Meredith. Yet, I did like how this man's gross actions was the reason for a major breakdown in the system, because if he hadn't done that, she would have been doing her job. Though, of course, Sheila is blamed for this, of course, right? Anyway, that whole scene was just very frustrating because it's something that definitely hasn't changed from today. Anyway, cool aliens. Yes. The aliens in this book are fantastic. I've said fantastic like a million times, but I can't say anything else about this book. It's fantastic. The Jillies are creepy and weird, but we also get some insight into how they think with a very interesting scene between a captured Jilly and a scientist. The scientist is trying to understand how they think, and I really loved that scene because it showed how different the Jillies think, but also served to broaden them from being just faceless alien killers to real people with their own culture. It was very fascinating. The Jillies are interesting in themselves because they are hermaphrodites in a biological sense. The book calls them bisexual, which is not the same thing. It made me laugh so hard in like a semi-offended way. And the Jillies are referred to as he rather than something sex or gender neutral. But I mean, this is 1986, so Meredith, he tried. Or 79. Was it 79? 69. Nice. Okay, the coolest thing about the Jillies is that they can detach their stomachs. We're told how this happens. We're told how this evolution happens. Basically, it was a self-defense mechanism which eventually evolved into some sort of separate entity that survives symbiotically with the main Jilly body. It's super cool. The aliens in this are super cool. Next category is alien-human romance. Oh my god. So I'm giving this category to the book because there is an odd and not really related to the main story side plot about a man who is obsessed with the Jillies, so he makes himself look like one. He even removes his stomach in a way. And then there's this woman who turns out to be Donna's sister. Donna was Bracer the captain of the Iwo Jima, his dead wife, who was killed by the Jillies. Bracer found her corpse. It's terrible. Anyway, so Donna's sister obviously wants to kill the Jillies, so she sleeps with the man. He calls himself the Jilly Man. Then she poisons him and then throws herself off a building. I'm sorry I'm laughing. It's just so wild. I think this part was included to show the negative impacts the Jillies were having on society at large, not just like the military, even without like full-on attacks on the colonies. Anyway, that whole scene was so incredibly bonkers. It deserved a check mark. It was so weird. One of the weirdest things I've ever read, and good job on you, Meredith, for actually weirding me out, because that doesn't happen very often. A generation ship, we don't have that. Space soldiers, we definitely have that. AI or robots, I'm not really sure about this one. So Roger, the AI on the ship, is not a computer, but a man's brain inserted into the ship somehow. I don't think that counts as AI, so I'm going to say no. New Worlds, yep, we see Breakaway, as well as some other ones. Cyberpunk, nope. Sexism, no. As we have lots of women characters, most of the women in STEM are in the military. Women aren't treated like property or relegated to secretarial or wife roles. The typical language is used, mankind, etc. But I don't care about that in classic sci-fi because it's classic sci-fi. But given we have 2 women captains of the final 2 ships out of the 3, it was very progressive for the 1960s. There were some things that were problematic. You know, overall, though, I'd say that this book is very good to women, but there are a few very male gaze scenes where women's bodies described from head to toe. The men don't get this treatment. Heibeck is a gross turd, but he still gets the girl he wants, which I thought was a kind of shitty thing to do. I think he should have been rejected. And then the whole thing with Sheila obviously was terrible. So, you know, I would say it's not blatantly sexist. It does have some elements to it that I don't think would fly today because society today is a bit better. Forerunner technology, there's none of that. LGBT plus representation, yes, we have that. It's not the best, it's not very long, but we have Jutta, a lesbian or bi woman who has a thing for Michelle, the woman who sleeps with the Jilly Man. Michelle professes to not enjoy having sex with Jutta, though it's possible it was because she wanted to get Jutta out of the situation so she could murder the Jilly Man. We don't really know. It's not very deep. It's not very... We don't get a lot of insight into Michelle's head. The Jilly Man also professes to be bi, but making a crazy lunatic the only gay person in the book has, as I call it, Baron Harkonnen vibes. So we have Jutta, and then there's other references to like orgies and stuff, which I'm just presuming includes queer pairings. But is that enough to offset the Jilly Man for representation? It's hard. I'm actually struggling with it. I did say yes at the start, so I will say yes because of Jutta, but I just wasn't sure about the whole why the Jilly Man. I think it's because Meredith doesn't know what bisexual means. So anyway. Are there black holes in this book? No. Microfiche? No. Male main character? Or is the male main character a bit of a dick? Bracer definitely is not. Heibeck is. But Bracer, I'd say, is the main character. He's a stand-up dude. So, no. Racial equality, yes. While most characters are white, there are characters of color, and they aren't held back by their race. You know, relegated to service roles, for example. Some of them are generals. You know, that kind of thing. It's definitely one of those books where race is not something that is brought up. Weapons, there's tons of them. They also have other tech like Tri-D viewers, things like that. I'm not going to get into all the weapons, but yeah, it's the typical kind of like, oh yeah, we have nuclear bombs on our ships, that kind of crap too. Post-apocalyptic? Nope. Assassins, yes. One guy at random, I can't even remember who his name was, or I think he was, I don't even know who he was, I can't remember, but anyway, he discusses how he was trained as an assassin on his home world. So there we go. There was an assassin, he doesn't do anything, but he's there. Galactic War, oh, you better believe it. Tech today, yup. Bracer has a freaking Zoom call at one point with both of his generals, and it's described as a Zoom call, and I was like, whoa. There's also solar panels, and there's wireless headphones, so yeah, lots of tech from today. The Bechdel test, yes, Sheila and Dia talk about work, so there you go. So yeah, does it pass my quick bonus? Female main character, I mean, Sheila is a bit of a main character, but Bracer is the main character. Convergent evolution, definitely not. Reptile aliens, definitely not. So no. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Have you read this book? Let me know in the comments. I absolutely freaking love it, and I'm so glad I own it now. It's definitely going in my stack of like favorite sci-fi or favorite classic sci-fi, which I seem to be doing a lot lately. But the next book that I'm reviewing, Earth/Citadel, is not going in that stack because it's a little boring. But that's okay. I'll review that in I guess I'm reviewing that in early October.